During this video you'll see how to make paper clay using both soft clay and also dry powder, as well as recycling newspaper to make it using just a kitchen blender. The idea to cut in small cubes is easier to break down into liquid with water. Don't feed them through too quickly. Eventually become too thick. A little bit of water will make it blend. Here we see using a dry clay powder, but first make sure you've got a safe silica safe dust mask. About 3/4 full of liquid and about 1.5 ice cream containers of powder. After you've added about 3/4 of the powder, you'll find that it won't blend anymore. And that's where we use a deflocculant, sodium ash or Dispex or sodium silica or Darwin or sodium carbonate. You may need to add the deflocculant again. Once you've added all the dry clay powder to the liquid, or add as much soft clay as you can without it losing its liquidity, you can then put it aside. And now we add the paper to water. It's best to use as much water as possible. Just standard newspaper rolled up, trimming one at a time. It's one sheet, 2 sheets. Give plenty of time between adding each one. Maybe add a little bit of water just so it doesn't burn out your motor. Now the most critical stage is to making sure that you've beaten it completely and there's no flakes of paper. Best way to do this is put a little bit in the bottom of a glass, top it up with water, stir it, and then look to see if it's all fluffy. It's fine. If there's any particles, you need to keep blending it. Garden sieve, garden variety household sieve or garden shade cloth can be used to sieve out the water. Do not remove all the water, otherwise you'll have to beat it longer. Fill your blender with about 1/3 paper pulp. You may vary the percentages if you want to customize your clay body, depending on the result. Now filling up with clay slip. You may also want to add a little bit of dishwashing liquid or something to discourage bugs growing in it at this stage. You put it on a plaster slab, or you can, if you don't have a plaster slab, get a sheet on top of a pile of newspapers. In India, they don't even bother about the newspaper, they're just on a sheet. Just finishing off the last bit of it here. And then once you pour it on the plaster slab, to let it dry to a plastic consistency. Some people let it dry completely and use the dry slabs for dry building with paper clay. Should come away nice and easily like this, and then you can wedge it up. Some people don't like the deflocculant in it, but I use deflocculant because it means that there's less water to remove in order to turn it from liquid to plastic. The result is a good amount of clay. Weights are there. Thank you for watching the video.